The very next thing he knew, Jacob Tutu was double locked into a gloomy, dark cell beneath the towering courthouse. Suddenly, the cell door clanged open, and a fat policeman thrust somebody towards him, saying, "Jacob Tutu, it is my duty to inform you that you and your visitor are, according to the strict letter of the law, allowed 1 hour together before facing the judge." The visitor who had come tumbling into the cell was quite the scruffiest, skinniest, and most untidy man Jacob Tutu had ever seen. With tangled grey hair and weepy blue eyes, his shirt collar was frayed and his tie soup-stained. His suit was rumpled, his shoes were scuffed, the laces broken. Beaming at Jacob Tutu, he declared, "Meet your barrister, Louis Loser." "Oh, I'm very pleased to meet you, Mr. Loser," said Jacob Tutu 2 times. "Are you really?" replied Louis Loser, astonished. "Yes, but what's a barrister? What's a barrister?" "Your protector in court." "Oh, but I haven't got any money, Mr. Loser. I couldn't afford to pay you." "Of course not," said Louis Loser impatiently. "If you could afford it, you'd pay me to stay at home in bed." "Do people pay you not to protect them in court?" asked Jacob Tutu twice. "Only if they can afford it. You mustn't worry, my boy. The truth is I've never won a case in my life, and that can't go on forever." "No," said Jacob Tutu. "No." He added hopefully, "Maybe this could be your lucky day." "Lucky day? My dear boy," Louis Loser said, obviously insulted. "Don't you realize that you are looking at the Louis Loser? When I set out on a picnic, it rains. If I'm invited to a party, I turn up on the wrong night. I can't sharpen a pencil without breaking it or slice bread evenly." "Oh!" said Jacob Tutu, enormously pleased to discover that he wasn't the only one. "And what happens when you turn on the television?" "The picture's fuzzy. It flips, it flops, or the screen is buried in snow." "Me too," said Jacob Tutu, enthralled. "Me too. I'm so pleased that you are going to protect me in court." "Well, thank you," said Louis Loser. And then he told Jacob Tutu a story. Once, he began, "I very nearly had a lucky day. I went into court with what seemed like an airtight case. Impossible to lose, even for Louis Loser. My client was out taking the air one evening when 3 ruffians attacked him. They took his wallet, they stole his watch, and beat him up very badly. Fortunately, a police car just happened to come along, and the ruffians were caught red-handed. In court, they confessed to everything. And my client, I must say, was a most touching sight, bandaged from head to toe and standing on crutches. All we claimed were damages." "Did you win? Did you win?" "Certainly not." "What happened?" asked Jacob Tutu. "What happened?" "How was I to know," said Louis Loser, "that my client would turn out to be an internationally famous bank robber, public enemy #1 in 10 countries? The ruffians who beat and robbed him were each given a £10,000 reward for the troubles. Excuse me. My client was sent to prison for life, and the judge booted me out of court, saying only a rotter would stoop to defend such a notorious criminal. The policeman banged on the cell door, warning them that they had only another 5 minutes together. A chill ran through Jacob Tutu as he was suddenly reminded of his own impending trial. "How will you defend me?" asked Jacob Tutu, terrified. How will you defend me? Louis Loser, deep in thought, paced the cell. I will not plead extenuating circumstances. Neither will I claim a mistrial. It wouldn't do any good to ask for a change of venue or challenge the jury's competence. Then what will you do? Asked Jacob Tutu. What will you do? I've got it! Exclaimed Louis Loser triumphantly. I'll cry. But that won't help. Well, of course not. But in my cases, nothing does. Come on, my boy. It's time to go. Jacob Tutu took Louis Loser's hand. I have faith in you, Mr. Loser. Louis Loser beamed. In that event, he said, we can't lose. How come? Asked Jacob Tutu, delighted. How come? Because if you have faith in me, I'm going to plead insanity on your behalf. You're nuts, my boy. Positively crackers. Within minutes, Jacob Tutu stood before the judge in the children's court. Nowhere among the jeering spectators, many of them customers of the Green Grocer, could Jacob Tutu see Daniel, Noah, Emma, Martha, or his mother and father. But had he looked a little more carefully, he would have seen two mysterious little people, midgets maybe. Wearing beards, dark glasses, and trench coats, they were holding notebooks, pens poised. The children's judge, Mr. Justice Ruff, wore a white powdered wig and a long black gown. I see here, he growled, that you aren't charged with insulting behavior. Not to another brat, I mean child, but, good heavens, to a big person? This is serious. Extremely serious. If you got away with it, it could only lead to more monstrous crimes like hiding comics under your pillow or peeing without lifting the seat. Here, Mr. Justice Ruff paused and knit his fierce brows. Once and for all, children must be taught. All the big people in the court shouted back, that big people are never, never wrong. If they punish you, Mr. Justice Ruff called out, it's for your own good, the big people called back. And if it hurts them, Mr. Justice Ruff continued, more than it hurts you, the big people replied. I know I screwed that up, shut up. Then the clerk of the court stepped up to Jacob Tutu. How do you plead, you little nit? He asked. Oh, what's the difference? The foreman of the jury hollered. He's guilty. I object, said Louis Loser in a small voice. You what? Bellowed Mr. Justice Ruff. I didn't say a word, said Louis Loser. Now then, said Mr. Justice Ruff, banging his gavel, demanding silence. I must remind all of you that we are here to see that this lad gets a fair trial. Jacob Tutu, he continued, turning to the accused, I should warn you that in this court, as in life, little people are considered guilty unless they can prove themselves innocent, which is just short of impossible. The big people in court whistled. They roared with laughter. They stamped their feet and shouted, hear, hear! Well then, said the clerk of the court, let's get on with it. How do you plead? Jacob Tutu turned to Louis Loser, looking for guidance. His protector was hiding under his desk, shaking with sobs. So taking a deep breath, Jacob Tutu said, Why, With all respect, sir, I plead innocent. With all respect, sir, I plead innocent. That's abominable. It's most inconsiderate, said Justice Roth. For I am the busiest of busy judges. In an average day here, I deal with desperados, swindlers, bubblegum smugglers, chocolate bar addicts, boys who want a bigger allowance than girls who grow out of their shoes too soon. The lot, all of whom have one thing in common. They are rude to big people. Why, you wouldn't even exist, sang out Mr. Justice Rough, enraged, if not for your parents, the big people shouted back. Everything you have, continued Mr. Justice Rough, you owe to us, chimed in the big people. The courtroom began to sway around Jacob Tutu. I haven't much time, said Mr. Justice Rough. If I don't get through your case quickly, I'll be late for my afternoon nap. The judge paused. He glared at Jacob Tutu. If you're innocent, why are you here? Because I want 2 pounds of firm red tomatoes, said Jacob Tutu. I want 2 pounds of firm red tomatoes. Don't mock me, boy. I heard you right the first time. But your lordship, he says almost everything 2 times, said the prosecutor. And that's why he stands before you. Mr. Justice Rough leaned towards Jacob Tutu. Why must you say everything 2 times? He asked. Because, said Jacob Tutu, pleased to be able to explain himself. I am 2 + 2 + 2 years old. I have 2 ears and 2 eyes and 2 arms and 2 feet and 2 shoes. I also have 2 sisters and 2 brothers. I am the littlest. Nobody hears me the first time. They only pay attention if I say things 2 times. And now, your lordship, could I please have 2 pounds of firm red tomatoes? Could I please have 2 pounds of firm red tomatoes? And he thought, swallowing hard, should be allowed to go home. Please? Are you finished, then? Asked Mr. Justice Roth. Jacob Tutu nodded twice. Thank God for that! Bang, bang, went the judge's gavel. Bang, bang again. Wake up the jury, he demanded gruffly. The clerk of the court shook the jury awake. Now then, said Mr. Justice Rough, you've heard the evidence. How do you find the defendant? Guilty! Well, if that's how you feel, said Mr. Justice Rough, rubbing his hands together gleefully, I will now pass sentence, Jacob Tutu, because you are an unredeemed scoundrel, a charlatan, an ingrate, and a smart aleck to boot. I hereby sentence you to 2 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 hours, and 2 minutes in the darkest dungeon of the children's prison. I do this for your own good, naturally. And it hurts me more than it hurts you. Suddenly a bell-like voice rang out loud and clear. We will appeal this verdict, of course. Oh, yes, sneered Mr. Justice Rough, rocking with laughter. And who might you be? Right there, right then, the 2 little people shed their disguises. They flung off their beards. They discarded their dark glasses. They tossed away their trench coats, and lo and behold, revealed in day-glow blue jeans and flying golden capes, the spine-chilling emblem, child power emblazoned on the chest, with the intrepid Shapiro and the fearless O'Toole. Take cover, everybody! Look out! It's the infamous two! I am O'Toole, announced Noah, leaping onto a table. I am Shapiro, proclaimed Emma, rippling her muscles for all to see. Immediately, the two burliest policemen in the court fainted, teeth chattering. The prosecutor dived under his table. The jury, wide awake for the first time, stumbled over each other, fleeing their benches. Shapiro, followed by O'Toole, traversed the courtroom, swinging from one chandelier to the next, dropping to the floor immediately before the trembling Mr. Justice Ruff. I began, Mr. Justice Ruff. I am a grandfather myself. I adore children, don't I? Beautiful little have a gumdrop. Stop it, said Shapiro. You'll be hearing from us, warned O'Toole.